Good evening, guests. And hello, live streamers. Thank you all for joining in whichever capacity you're able. So excited to see so many faces here to have a very important discussion about universal design and about accessibility as a right. I want to introduce our first speaker, not a stranger to many of us, I'm sure. The incredible disabilities activist, Malone, Smasher of Ableism. She's going to talk to us a bit about her experiences navigating the city as someone who is atypical physiologically. Welcome, Anne. And Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Yeah, you can.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming. I'm just trying to coordinate my dog's leash with the wire that I'm holding. Cheryl, heel. She's really the star of this act. Sit. Sit. So yeah, I'm Anne Malone. I've been advocating for equality for people with disabilities since about 2014. I received my guide dog, Cheryl, the year before, and realized that what I thought was the solution was actually a diving board out of the frying pan into the fire, because my dog is trained to keep me out of moving traffic, not to lead me into it. And also at the same time, my vision was deteriorating. Not my vision is perfect. My eyesight was deteriorating, and I like how you think. And I honestly tripped into the activism world out of sheer desperation. Prior to my sight loss, some of you may know me from another realm. I worked in artist-run centers around St. John's for about 20 years. Eastern Edge Gallery, St. Michael's Print Shop, Neighborhood Dance Works, Craft Council, and because of my sight loss, although obviously I'm highly literate, reading, even on a screen, can be tediously slow, because I see the world like a very blurry jigsaw puzzle with pieces missing, which is kind of dangerous because your brain, when I look at something, will throw up its best guess, which can be kind of interesting because it's like a non-hallucinatory sort of weird experience. Spend enough time around me, you'll know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I still am gobsmacked by the fact that I live in a city where pedestrians are expected to walk in moving traffic to get from place to place. And I realize, the more I'm into this, that the people who are most impacted by the winter accessibility situation are people who have disabilities, people who, for any reason, do not move with great agility and ease. I find the police and council response, which is usually pedestrians should ensure their own safety by making eye contact with drivers, very problematic. And I find it highly ironic that I can get a ticket, theoretically, on Water Street for jaywalking in July, whereas I'm encouraged or forced to do so in February. So, you know, it is a world of paradoxes, is it not? So that's what brings me here. From time to time over the years, I've found myself sitting in my kitchen, curled up in a small fetal ball, almost sucking my thumb, trying to gather the gumption to get out there on Kingsbridge Road with the transport trucks and the speeding drivers and the distracted drivers and the who knows what all else, while I try to protect my dog from psychological trauma, just to buy a loaf of bread at the supermarket, which is less than 1,000 meters from my house. To me, this is completely unacceptable, and I just won't have it. Not for me or not for you. And I really think that that there's something beautiful in the air, aside from COVID. And that one thing that this year has shown us is there's this real social shift that's happening, where all of the isolation and the sort of medical jeopardy that some of us feel that we are in is causing us almost right across North America, if not, the whole world, to reevaluate what our values are, what it means to have a quality life, things that are linked to, there's a whole hairball actually of capitalism and environmental degradation and privilege and just a whole variety of inequalities that are incredibly interesting. And I really am so enriched, actually. I really feel like I've found my tribe in the social justice community. So that's great. But as I was just saying to one of my friends at the table, I think that people who are in authority and governmental authority in our province are probably going, what the heck? Because they have never seen people with disabilities protesting outside City Hall. So I'm really, really, really just so enjoying and so encouraged by this energy of optimism and purpose and rightful entitlement to access to every single aspect of our community. Because not only are the people who are marginalized being robbed of opportunity, so is the community. Because all of us have something unique that we bring to the table. And I just know that there's a lot of potential that's lying fallow, a lot of opportunity that is not accessible to people who are worthy of that opportunity, and by that I mean all of us. And I am determined to do my part in making that happen, to making mobility justice a real and manifest reality in the lives of everybody who lives in our city and our province. So that's me. And it's my pleasure now to introduce somebody else, Grant Genova. Take it, Grant.
I don't like talking into these things. This is a very interesting group. Maybe in a sense long overdue for Newfoundland and some of the struggles that I have to deal with. I do practice architecture. I do have to deal with all of the regulations and all of the dumbfounded. Why, you can't hear me? Really? Okay. I come from a Sicilian family, so you really don't want me to start yelling. It's also partially Irish, so I don't even need the mic, but I'll try my best. I was asked to talk about universal design, and I think all of you can just go online and deal with that one. There's plenty of information. But when I was talking to on the phone, it made me reflect on some things, and I'm an older person who actually was taken to Florida when I was 10 years old, and that's 1957. So when it came to social justice, or the understanding of social justice, the only thing I can say is that I've been in quiet, startled. I've been startled for my whole life in terms of actually witnessing the civil rights movement, which was around me when I grew up, the Vietnam conflict, all the assassinations that happened in the United States. And so I'm a mix of Canadian and American, and my roots around trying to be careful with how one would be sensitive to who you're designing for really comes from that time. ideas of social justice, in a sense, does come from the black struggle in the United States. And it has,
for sure.
and I've, without me even knowing it, have gone through experience after experience, actually teaching at a black university in Tallahassee for 9 years, and getting both sides of that story, both sides of equality. Being a minority on a black campus is a different position than being the black minority in a white city, you know, like you get these different kinds of understandings. All to say that it just boils down to being sensitive to who you're knowledgeably trying to figure out what they need in my world, right? You're just sensitive. It doesn't matter whether they necessarily have a disability, but to get into the idea of that. And it also, the three things I wanted to sort of emphasize is, it's interesting how inclusion and how climate change or climate warming and the COVID phenomena has fused everything together. Through COVID, I ended up in the United States for 7 months, experiencing the beginnings of COVID-19. And so I was in the whole Trump ideology and struggling to try to find my way back to Newfoundland, which was not easy. And it's really, from an architect's point of view, we've overbuilt. And we've built very specifically in and around, we don't need office buildings anymore, and we haven't needed office buildings since the invention of a laptop, right? But we do need meeting spaces, like we've got this one. So all to say, the conversation to me is very positive. When someone brought to me the idea of climate change, I thought it was a design opportunity. And I think everyone should start shifting that way and not be dealing with the situation in a negative way. The only thing that we really have as human beings is our imagination. There's not much else going for us. You know, when you think about it, right? We're just like ants. We're on the planet. We're hurtling on this blue dot like everybody else. But the one thing that we do have is to imagine a better future, imagine a better way that things can go together. And I think COVID-19 has actually shown an opportunity and actually removed what I call the intimidating type of people. And you know, when you're in business, you have intimidating managers, right? They call you on the phone, they know nothing, but they want you to hurry up, right? Well, they all disappeared because of COVID-19. For some reason, that the phenomena of they had nothing to do and that they didn't have their little office anymore, they lost their power. So all those clients of mine, and I have, you know, sometimes I have 20 clients at a time, all the intimidators disappeared. Now they're coming back a little bit, so we got to make sure that they're gone for good. It's my, you know, I'd like that to happen. Cheers. One thing I did want to know is, anybody out there got anything to ask me? Because I don't like this kind of one-way operation. I'm better sitting at a table and talking to people and sharing a lifetime of experience, which is a lot of mistakes. And I try to explain that to people. That's the only way. One thing I do feel that everyone has to get their head around is to become extremely authentic. And what I mean by that for me was, I didn't want to ever go on a job site if I didn't understand how to do plumbing. And I mean that physically. I don't mean that I learned it in a book. I meant that I got under the sink and changed the damn drain. And I'm a lousy plumber. But I needed to understand that in order to deal with the people that were going to be working for me. And I think that's true in any aspect that we get ourselves busy with. Please take the time to truly learn. It doesn't take much, but then you're going to be in a better position to argue the points that we've got to argue. Because one of the things that the people that are trying to block all this type of movement is they're not very bright. And they're really standing behind some very weak facade. And so if we stay evidence-based, you know, if we really truly get our act together and our knowledge together, you usually, and with the COVID thing, you know, look, it's added a little edge, we can really do something and make a change. When I was in university, which is a long time ago, we bounced around, like we were the first group in Florida to actually try to marry architecture and ecology together. We're known, didn't do anything for my career, by the way, but you know, we're known, we're supposed to be grandfathers, but it doesn't matter. The idea was that we were trying, you know, this very avant-garde approach at the time, right? Well, we had many people come into the studio, one in particular, he actually was a ricochet from the guy that did Inconvenient Truth, Al Gore. Al Gore was a young senator at the time, and he told this lawyer that worked for the Kennedys to go and visit us at University of Florida. We had this small group called the Southwest Florida Design Planning Team, and this guy comes in, and he is a representative of the Kennedy family. The Kennedys owned a lot of land in Florida. And he asked us very bluntly, after he'd been in the studio for a few hours, he said, well, boys, what's the value of a tree? Now, realize we're all 20 years old, and we didn't have an answer. I could give them an answer today, but we didn't have an answer. And as he's leaving us, he turns to us and he goes, you know, you boys live in a rarefied atmosphere. And I'm really happy that I live in this rarefied atmosphere because it's taken this long. I want you to know that the idea of the climate change thing came from Rachel Carson, right? Silent Spring. And maybe revolutions take a very, very long time because it has to do with us changing the way we're going to be and the fact that we're trying to give a future for children. And that's about it. I mean, I could talk for a few.
Oh, you'll get
longer,
chances because we haven't talked back.
Okay, fine. But thank you very much, and keep up the good work and all that sort of stuff. Was I supposed to do something?
That's okay. I got this.
She knows her name.
I got this. Hey folks, so I'm Paula, and I live with a mental illness. Like most of the folks in the room here, we have our stories, and it's really interesting. I've played it over about 15 different ways. I'm going to talk about this. No, wait, I'm going to talk about that. No, wait, maybe I'll go this direction. Then I see Emily in the room, and I'm like, oh Christ, I can't talk about universal design. Emily is here. And I recognize I'm really nervous tonight, because usually when I get up in front like this, I'm usually the quasi-expert. I'm usually the one with the most knowledge about the topic in the room. And as I look around here tonight, I'll already hear two speakers and see some familiar faces. I know that I'm not the expert. I'm not the expert when it comes to disability or accessibility in our city or in our province. I'm not the expert on universal design, as we heard just from Grant a second ago. What I am the expert on is living with mental illness. And I know what that feels like. And so the reason I'm here tonight, because we are talking about universal design, one of the challenges that comes with making the connection is that I live in a world where I'm not normal to be normal, but I'm not disabled enough to feel like I'm part of the disability community. There you go. I don't have a visible disability. As you can see here, I literally have to wear my name on my shirt. I literally have to tell people that, hey, wait, I belong in this room. And one of the challenges that comes with that, of course, is when there are opportunities for challenging accessibility. For example, my voice isn't very loud because I don't look the part. So we can talk all day about, as Greg said, we can look up online and we can give you the definition of universal design, and we can tell you how to do it and how we can put specs in buildings, but at the end of the day, we don't know what it feels like We don't know what it feels like when you get that announcement over the loudspeaker to say, anyone who needs extra support boarding the airplane, please come forward. And know that if I come forward, I will be challenged because I don't look like I deserve that support. Not everyone knows what it feels like to go to a building and pull in and not be sure where the entrance is and sit in your car for 20 minutes and miss that very special appointment because you're having a panic attack because you're not sure where to go. Not everyone knows what it feels like when you enter a building and all of a sudden you're in the middle of a room of 20 people and you don't know where the person is you're supposed to meet, and you start to have a panic attack because I'm supposed to speak and I don't even know who I'm looking for. And I share all these stories because, as I said, we can't find those online. Those stories are invisible, just like my illness. And so when Anne asked me to speak tonight, I said, what a great opportunity to start to open that conversation. When we talk about disability, when we talk about cross-disability, we're talking about all of us. And switching gears a little bit, when we talk about universal design, again, I know we can Google it, but I'm not sure that we really understand how universal it is. I'll get you to give me a show of hands if you can or if you're comfortable. Have you ever used an automatic door at a Walmart? Yep. Have you ever used an automatic water dispenser in a public washroom? Have you ever used a ramp while you've been pushing a baby stroller or a shopping cart?
Or just walking.
Or just walking.
They're nice.
Or just walking. We've all taken advantage of universal design. And as a disability community, we are here to say, hey, let's open up this possibility of having equal rights, if you could imagine. But really, we're advocating for a society that makes it comfortable for all of us. As Greg talked about, we are all aging. Unless we found the fountain of youth, we're all going to need those pieces within our society. We're all going to need to take advantage of those things as we age, if we have the privilege of aging, if we don't already use them now. And so when we challenge each other, and again, I feel a little bit like I'm preaching to the choir here, but when we challenge each other, but also challenge the folks around us, we look at what we can do. Some of the things we can do, which are very, very easy, is from a mental health perspective. I get that question a lot, but what do you mean? I can't build a bridge or a ramp to help you with your mental health. I can't get you a dog to help you with your mental health in terms of getting into buildings. But we can do some other things. We can use language that is respectful and non-stigmatizing. We can build entrances that are open and clear and wayfinding. We can create spaces, quiet spaces and public spaces, so that when I'm not feeling that I belong, I have a space to go to and collect myself. And what we can do is announce to the world that we are inclusive. I don't think we're there yet. I think we have some ways to go. But I do want to say thank you, Anne, for inviting me down tonight. I had no idea you folks did this kind of amazing thing, and I definitely think it's something I'm going to avail of in the future. So that's it. That's all I want to share. Like Brent, I could stand here. I'm from up to Southern Shore, so I can stand here for another 7 hours if you want. But that's probably not the best, because we'll all be tipsy going out the door. Mainlanders knows when I get my accent on. So what we're going to do now, actually we're going to switch it over to our Q&A, our discussion. And really what we want to do tonight is kind of just open it up to you folks. This is a community event, and you are our community, and so we want to hear from you folks. So if you have any questions for myself, Anne, or Grant, if there's an experience you want to share with us, even if there's just a comment, if you want to start a conversation or in this realm, then please, please do. We do ask that you come up front to use the microphone if at all possible, because that will help with the audio. But if that's not a possibility, let us know and we'll see if we can figure it out. We've got such imaginative, creative people in the room. I'm sure we'll figure out how to get a microphone to you. So we'll hand it there. So anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts, jokes?
If you would like to share something, just feel free to line up here and form a queue for the mic. We really want to hear from everyone in the room because you're all experts in your own experience.
One at a time, one at a time.
Yay!
Yeah, it always takes someone just to get started. I don't know how to formulate this question because it changed so many times while I was listening to all three of you. And I know Anne and I've had some chats, but I was wondering if maybe the three of you could comment on what do you think, I guess maybe starting at a local level, what do you think the city needs to do to address universal design? And each of you have different, aspects of universal design that need to be addressed. And for example, I consider myself a very privileged person, but I'm learning more and more about universal design every single day, week, month, etc. I'm just wondering if you could comment like how to start locally. You can move to the province, etc. That may take all night, of course, but maybe comment on what do you think the city should be doing, or just the local community in general should be doing for all of us, or all of you.
We're just going to tag team on these questions. I think that the first responsibility actually with changing this situation lies not so much with the people who are in government, but but it is the responsibility
Finding it hard to type. She's
of
disabled
the
and she
people who
wants to
vote
phone
for
in,
the
so I'm
people
going to
who
give
are
her
in
my phone.
government.
But
I think, honestly, like my personal assessment of some of the reasons of why we lag behind in St. John's in this area has to do with the fact, I think, that the actual community, those of us who are not, in government, are far more evolved in our thinking, actually, than many of the people who have these positions of power. And I think that diversity is necessary in all aspects of life, but particularly in these positions of power. I think we need a variety of people who come from a variety of backgrounds, with a variety of life experiences. And I think that it is really important to offer avenues to those places and positions of power to people who are economically unstable or experiencing economic inequality. Because as you can applaud, because that's a great thought. A bit of a radical one, but I do know that small steps have been made forward with regard to municipal government in making just running as a candidate a little more accessible to people who are not wealthy. Let's just name it, for people who are not wealthy. And I think that when we see a council that holds a variety of experiences of how they exist in the world, of how they appear in the world, of how they move through the world, because all of those things inform your empathic response. And empathy is a very valuable quality in government. So that's what I would have to say about that. Right?
I'm going to answer this with a little story, and then a note that I meant to talk about. Asheville, North Carolina, which is, a lot of people don't realize, but it's very close to Asheville, North Carolina, is Black Mountain. And that's actually where all the Bauhaus people came to the United States in 1933, fleeing from Hitler. And Black Mountain College was there for just 10 years. And famous people like Rauschenberg, the painter, came out of that college. But you have all these amazing design people. If you know anything about the Bauhaus, you understand what I'm talking about. If you don't, look it up. But it was a very